Welcome back to the Hurry Up Offense Fantasy Football News and Advice for Week 15 of the 2021 NFL Fantasy Football season. And can you believe it? We have made it this far. We are in the playoffs right now for the most of us. And the season is almost over. It's getting sad right now. It's getting sad. But today's topic of the show is basically just news, because here we are at the end. You're either in the playoffs or you're not. So, let's get on to it. Keenan Allen was activated off of the COVID list. Now, this is good news for probably Keenan Allen, the team, Justin Herbert, and maybe even Mike Williams on top of all that. Now, Mike Williams had that job. He was the number one wide receiver last week. He was the big, dominant physical presence, and he went 6 for 6. He did catch all of his targets. Now, coverage being what it is, he probably didn't receive as many targets as we would have liked as fantasy football players. 61 yards, I mean, you can't argue with it. 6 targets. Would have been much better with a touchdown. But Keenan Allen is coming back, so this could possibly give a boost to both of these guys. We could see Mike Williams return to the production level that he was at earlier in the season, and also right before Keenan Allen went out. He had a great game. Probably double coverage comes off of him now, goes back to Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen is big enough, physical enough, and a talented enough player to handle that. So look for both of these guys to get a boost this week, and they should be helpful, especially Keenan Allen. Out of the Rams camp, Odell Beckham is on the COVID list, and Tyler Higbee comes off of the COVID list. Now, this is going to be tough right here. You're going to have to monitor this. There is a ton of usable assets on the Rams right now, and I bet if you're in the playoffs, you've got at least one piece of this team. At least I would hope. Stafford's great. Higbee, it is what it is. Odell Beckham has been great. Cooper Kupp is on a phenomenal pace. So you need these guys on the field. You're going to have to monitor this. Keep an eye on this situation, because the COVID situation is piling up there. And who knows? Who knows? This is the fantasy playoffs. Keep an eye on it. Austin Ekeler has been limited at practice this week with his ankle injury, but all indications as of right now at the time of this recording is that he is going to play and get you a ton of points in your fantasy playoffs. So, that's a good outlook. It doesn't look good for Darren Waller playing this week either. Now, it's been rough. Darren Waller's been out with his knee and back injury for a good little bit now. And this guy was not very productive when he was. Darren Waller was drafted at the beginning of the season as a league-winning tight end. And he looked it for the first part of the season. But the Raiders being the Raiders, they took a downfall. They went on their downward spiral that they go on almost every year. You know, it's to be expected at this point. Hunter Renfrow is the bright and shining star of that offense right now. Who would have thought? Hunter Renfrow. He was great at Clemson, I'll give him that. But if you have Hunter Renfrow, that guy could possibly win you a fantasy championship. But Darren Waller, not so much. Damien Harris has been limited at practice this week with his hamstring injury. Now, Damien Harris got this hamstring injury not long after that super explosive breakaway long touchdown that he got against the Bills. It's no secret that this guy is explosive and he can do things like that. But the problem is, he is not the bell cow. He is not the dominant running back. I mean, he is dominant physically, but he is not the shoulder of the team. He is not the guy who's going to carry the entire load, because Belichick and Josh McDaniels love to run a committee backfield. It's always been that way, and it always will be, as it seems. Damien Harris could win you a title if something happens to these other guys. So you want Damien Harris on your team. If somehow he is still sitting out on the waivers, pick him up and hold him. If something happens to Ramondre or Bolden, this guy's a league winner for sure. Take that chance. News out of Cardinals camp right now, and this is very important news. We'll start with James Conner, who is considered day-to-day at this point with his ankle injury. It feared to be worse than this earlier in the week, but as of right now, he's kind of on track. This week is still up in the air, but his MRI came back and it's not as bad as we thought originally. So Connor is that guy at running back who can win your league, considering what he has done in the very recent past if Chase Edmonds doesn't get in the way. And now DeAndre Hopkins is not going to be on your team for the fantasy playoffs. I said it earlier in the season that it looks like DeAndre Hopkins is turning into Julio, where he seems to be injured on and after every single play this season, and it seems to be holding true. Yeah, he's going to be out for at least 4 weeks now. They expect him back for the real playoffs, but he's not going to be on your team for the fantasy playoffs. So much is life. Hey, pick up AJ Green. I think AJ Green has a shot to return to relevance here. He hasn't been bad this season. AJ has been very up and down this season, but also very serviceable on many weeks. He can do it. And with Hopkins out, him and Christian Kirk are definitely going to get a tick up in work as long as they can get open. And the team being what it is, I think they're going to need that. So look for one of these guys for a fill-in, a plug-in, if you need them during the playoffs. Some quarterback news. Jalen Hurts is trending upward right now. Nick Sirianni said Wednesday that the QB Jalen Hurts is trending upward. Sirianni said both Hurts and Gardner Minshew would get reps in this week, and they're going to figure out who's going to play at this point. That's a summation of it. I kind of hope Gardner plays. I think Gardner is better for the team, but Jalen Hurts is probably better for your fantasy football team because he has the running aspect. So that's basically it. If I were the team, I would play Gardner. For your fantasy team, I'm going to play Jalen. It's a good thing that Josh Allen is actually at practice with his foot injury. He's out there for the walkthroughs, and it looks like he's trending toward playing also. So if you got Josh Allen, you are counting on Josh Allen for your playoffs. Looks like you're going to have him. Also, Sam Darnold is back in practice. He might be back out there and playing. Now, I guess if you're depending on a Panthers quarterback at this point, you're in desperate need. But I don't think it's good. It's really not good. You don't want to play Sam Darnold. You don't want to play Cam. At this point, you don't want to play a Panthers quarterback. So, it's news, but it's not news. Robert Saleh says that Michael Carter will be back on the field this week versus the Dolphins. And this is good news if you've had him sitting on your bench or on your IR spot, because this guy kind of is in his breakout season. He kind of is. He's a decent fourth-round running back that has opportunity right now to perform, and he could get you some fantasy points. Now, I don't know that I want to play him right away against the Dolphins unless I absolutely have to. But if you are in desperate need, then you're happy about this because he can get you some points. But he's not a league winner. He's not coming back to save the day for all the fantasy managers. But could be serviceable. DeAndre Swift is still out at practice, and it doesn't look good for his outlook. He has a great schedule coming up for running backs, which I think probably Jamal Williams is going to have to take advantage of if he can get back off of the COVID list. Because right now it doesn't look good for Swift. Swift is a league winner if you have him on your team and he's actually out there on the field. But right now it's looking like he's not going to make it back in time. We'll see. Monitor it for next week. But you're not going to have him this week. And I guess last but not least this week, since there is no game theory portion of the show technically, this is your final news article for the week. DJ Moore got in a limited practice today and this week, and it looks like he's trending toward playing. Also, Matt Rule thinks he's going to play against the Bills. It's not a great position to be in, playing against the Bills, but DJ Moore is a phenomenal wide receiver, and he's kind of quarterback proof. It's not necessarily like some of the extreme wide receivers that we've seen, like DeAndre Hopkins, that are completely quarterback proof. But we have seen DJ Moore be productive with many different quarterbacks. So no matter who's out there, I expect him to get at least serviceable numbers for your team. So I wouldn't worry too much about that, considering if Sam Darnold comes back. Now, it's not going to be elite numbers. It's just not. The quarterback situation is not there for DJ Moore to have elite numbers, but it will be serviceable, and he can get you some points during the fantasy playoff. But hey, guys, that's it for this week. Please subscribe to the Beyond Football channel, and if you want to hear Alex and I break down every game every single week and tell you the winners, just look for it right there on the Beyond Football channel. It comes out every week right before this one. So if you're listening to this right now, it's already up on the channel. Go check it out. I am Smokey Rameriz, your fantasy football pro. I'll see you next week. Deuces.